Pooh Shiesty spent months plotting a way out of his contract with Gucci Mane. He wanted more money. He wanted more control. He wanted to own his future. And according to federal prosecutors, he was willing to go to extreme lengths to get it. But here is what nobody saw coming. While Pooh Shiesty was out there allegedly making moves to break free, Gucci Mane was already positioned exactly where he needed to be. And while Pooh Shiesty was sitting in a federal holding cell, Gucci Mane turned around, dropped his album, and started collecting. All Eyes on Shiesty hit #1 on the US Apple Music chart, and the money started moving right back into the same pockets Pooh Shiesty had allegedly tried to escape. Stay with us, because what Gucci Mane made off this whole situation is a number that will hit different once you hear it. Yo, what's good, fam? Today we are breaking down how Gucci Mane ended up making an estimated $20 million to $25 million from Pooh Shiesty's music and the new album, and how the very move Pooh Shiesty made to escape that situation may have locked Gucci Mane into an even stronger financial position. Let's get into it. To understand how this all landed where it did, you have to start at the beginning. Pooh Shiesty, born Lontrell Williams Jr. in Memphis, Tennessee, signed with Gucci Mane's 1017 Records in 2020. At the time, it was one of the most logical moves a young Memphis rapper could make. Gucci Mane had built 1017 into one of the most respected independent label structures in the game, with a joint deal through Atlantic Records that gave his artists access to major label distribution and promotion. For a young artist trying to break out of Memphis and into the national conversation, that infrastructure was exactly what was needed. And Pooh Shiesty delivered. His 2021 mixtape, Shiesty Season, became one of the most talked about rap projects of that year. His single Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk became a defining record, charting nationally, racking up hundreds of millions of streams and cementing his name in the upper tier of emerging rap artists. He was raw, he was cold, and his Memphis sound connected with listeners across the country. By the time his early run was complete, Pooh Shiesty had become one of the most commercially valuable young artists in the 1017 roster. His catalog was generating real money, and all of that money was flowing through the same label structure he had signed into. Then came the first federal case. In 2022, Pooh Shiesty pleaded guilty to a federal firearms conspiracy charge and was sentenced to 63 months in federal prison. He served roughly 3 years and was released in October 2025. When he came out, the streets were watching, the fan base had held, the catalog had continued streaming, and Pooh Shiesty had every reason to believe his career was ready for a second chapter. But here's where the story starts to shift. According to federal prosecutors, somewhere in that transition period, Pooh Shiesty became deeply unhappy with the terms of his 1017 contract. The money his music was generating was significant. The amount he was personally receiving, by many accounts, was not matching what he felt he deserved. In the music business, that gap between what an artist generates and what ends up in their pocket is one of the most common and most painful realities of the industry. And for Pooh Shiesty, it apparently became unbearable. Let me break this down for y'all, because the financial mechanics here are critical to understanding everything that follows. When a song generates 1 million streams on Spotify, that does not mean $1 million walks through the door. The platform pays out somewhere in the range of $3 to $5 per thousand streams on average. So 1 million streams might generate $3,000 to $5,000 in gross streaming revenue. But that money does not go straight to the artist. It goes to whoever controls the master recording of the song, which in most cases is the label. The label then takes its cut, which can be anywhere from 60 to 80% of that revenue, before anything reaches the artist. The artist then receives their royalty rate, which on a typical industry contract can run somewhere between 15 and 25% of the label's net. On top of that, there is recoupment. Recoupment is one of the most important concepts in the music business and one of the least understood by people outside the industry. When a label advances money to an artist for recording costs, videos, promotion, living expenses, or anything else, that money is not a gift. It is a loan against future earnings. The artist's royalties are used to pay back those advances before any royalty checks start flowing. An artist can have a certified hit song, millions of streams, and a platinum project, and still receive nothing from their label while the recoupment balance is being worked down. That situation is exactly the kind of thing that can make a young, successful artist feel like they are being squeezed. And according to prosecutors, that is precisely the environment Pooh Shiesty found himself in. By early 2026, Pooh Shiesty had reportedly been in contact with Yo Gotti's CMG Records about a potential deal. Whether that was real or just leverage is not entirely clear. But according to prosecutors, Pooh Shiesty decided to take matters into his own hands in January of 2026. According to federal prosecutors and court filings, Pooh Shiesty allegedly arranged what appeared to be a business meeting at a recording studio in Dallas, Texas. The meeting was framed around contract discussions. Gucci Mane, believing this was a legitimate conversation, showed up. What allegedly happened next is one of the most dramatic moments in recent music industry history. Prosecutors alleged that Pooh Shiesty, his father Lontrell Williams Sr., Big 30, and 6 other associates turned the meeting into an armed confrontation. Federal investigators alleged that Pooh Shiesty produced an AK-style pistol and pointed it directly at Gucci Mane, that Big 30 positioned himself to block the exit, and that the group forced one of Gucci Mane's associates to sign paperwork intended to release Pooh Shiesty from his 1017 contract. But here is the detail that sealed that fate. Big 30 allegedly filmed the entire ambush on his phone. Federal prosecutors later recovered that footage and used it as a central piece of evidence in the case. The robbery itself was extensive. According to court filings, the group allegedly took approximately $450,000 worth of cash and high-end jewelry from the people inside the studio, including Gucci Mane's wedding band, custom earrings, and Rolex watches. Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, and multiple co-defendants were ultimately arrested on federal kidnapping and robbery charges. If convicted, they faced the possibility of a life sentence. Their trial is scheduled for February 2027. All defendants have pleaded not guilty. Now here is where the legal irony becomes financially significant. A contract release allegedly obtained under armed coercion is not a standard negotiated exit. It is legally void. In contract law, any agreement signed under duress, meaning a party was forced or threatened into signing, is considered involuntary and unenforceable from the moment it is executed. It does not matter that a pen touched paper. It does not matter that signatures appear on the document. A contract signed at gunpoint is worth nothing in a court of law. And the FBI during Pooh Shiesty's detention hearing noted they did not even have the alleged contract in their possession as evidence. The legal ground under that alleged forced release was non-existent before the ink even dried. Pooh Shiesty allegedly risked his entire freedom over a piece of paper that never freed him from anything. So Gucci Mane released Crash Dummy. Produced by Zaytoven, the track dropped on April 10, 2026, days after Pooh Shiesty was denied bond in order to remain in federal custody. Gucci Mane did not name Pooh Shiesty directly, but every line hit exactly where it was aimed. He rapped about a business meeting that turned into a setup, about walking into a room and feeling the pressure build, about being dapped up by someone plotting against him the whole time. He referenced Birdman and Cash Money. He drew the comparison to Suge Knight and made clear he was not going out like Eazy-E. And then came the line that made the internet stop. He told listeners that after everything, the ambush, the forced paperwork, the robbery, Pooh Shiesty was still signed to him. The message was brutal and it was final. Whatever that paperwork was supposed to accomplish, it had accomplished nothing. The business relationship was still his, and everything that followed proved him right. Because on August 7, 2026, while Pooh Shiesty remained incarcerated awaiting his federal trial, Gucci Mane greenlit the release of All Eyes on Shiesty, and it dropped through 1017 Global Music and Atlantic Recording Corporation. Read that again. The man Pooh Shiesty allegedly held at gunpoint made the call to release the album. The same label structure that Pooh Shiesty allegedly risked life in prison to escape was the one with his name on the copyright line. Gucci Mane did not just retain ownership. He used that ownership to drop the project, collect the streams, and pocket the money while his former artist sat in a federal holding cell. And in an extra layer of irony that the streets have not stopped talking about, rumors circulating through hip-hop circles, reportedly amplified by members of Pooh Shiesty's own family complaining about financial hardship, suggest that the money his music continues to generate is flowing almost entirely away from him. The 7% he's entitled to under his contract is reportedly going straight toward his mounting federal legal fees. So the music is working, the streams are climbing, the album is charting, and Pooh Shiesty is not seeing meaningful income from any of it. All Eyes on Shiesty is a 16-track project with features from Glorilla, Sexy Red, Big 30, K Carbon, and Baby Slime. with production from the late Tay Keith, Mike and Keys, and others. The album opens with I'm Back and moves through records like Federal Reality, Last Man Breathing, Reckless Living, Reap What You Sow, Bigger Than the Program, and Collecting Tears. It is a project built around survival, confinement, and the street perspective of a man who has lived multiple versions of being locked inside a system, literally and figuratively. And the audience showed up immediately. On day one, All Eyes on Shiesty hit #1 on the US Apple Music All Genre chart, dethroning Ariana Grande's Pedal in the process. That is not the hip-hop chart. That is every genre, pop, country, R&B, everything. And Pooh Shiesty's album was sitting at the top of that entire list from behind federal bars. The project arrived as a relative surprise, with details in the lead single announced just days before the release date, which makes the chart achievement even more significant. No traditional rollout, no press runs, no radio interviews, no performances. The artist was not even physically free, and the album still hit #1. But the Apple Music chart was only the beginning. Industry trackers projected All Eyes on Shiesty to debut at #9 on the Billboard 200, with approximately 40,000 album equivalent units in its first week. The final chart position came in at #7 on the Billboard 200, higher than the projection and a strong commercial debut for any rapper in 2026, let alone one sitting in federal custody with a trial date set for February 2027. To put that in context, Pooh Shiesty's earlier project Shiesty Season debuted at #3 on the Billboard 200 back in 2021, which showed the depth of his fan base. All Eyes on Shiesty arriving at #7 in the middle of one of the most dramatic legal situations in recent rap history is a testament to how loyal that audience remains. Now here is what those numbers mean on the business side. And this is where Gucci Mane's position becomes impossible to ignore. Every single one of those 40,000 units, every Spotify play, every YouTube view, every playlist ad, every TikTok that used a snippet of the album, all of that activity generated revenue. And because Gucci Mane still owns the masters and controls the label structure that released this project, every dollar that flowed in from this album moved through a system that he built and still controls. Pooh Shiesty allegedly tried to rob him to escape this exact arrangement. Instead, Gucci Mane turned around and dropped the album through the same structure and let the music make him rich while Pooh Shiesty sat in a cell. Now let's talk about what those chart positions and unit numbers actually mean in dollars. And this is where the documentary gets real, fam, because the scale is bigger than most people realize. A #1 album on US Apple Music is not just a trophy. It is a commercial signal that translates directly into streaming volume across multiple platforms simultaneously. When a project lands at the top of Apple Music, it is typically also performing strongly on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Tidal at the same time. And the financial math behind those streams is something most people never actually sit with long enough to understand. Let us do the math so the scale makes sense. The average streaming payout across major platforms sits roughly between $3 and $5 per thousand streams. But for illustration, let us use $4 per thousand as a working figure. 10 million streams on a single song generates roughly $40,000 in gross streaming revenue. 50 million streams generates around $200,000. 100 million streams produces approximately $400,000. And 500 million streams, which a catalog hit like Back in Blood has absolutely crossed, generates around $2 million from streams alone. That is before sync licensing, YouTube content ID revenue, radio performance royalties, international licensing, and every other revenue stream attached to the recording. Now multiply that math across 16 tracks on All Eyes on Shiesty, each with its own streaming performance, and then add the catalog reactivation a successful new release triggers across everything Pooh Shiesty has ever put out. The new album acts as a marketing engine for his entire catalog. Back in Blood alone has accumulated hundreds of millions of streams since 2021. That song does not stop generating revenue. Every stream today, every TikTok that uses it, every playlist it sits in, all of that keeps producing income, and that income flows through the master recording structure back to 1017 and Atlantic, where Gucci Mane sits with a financial stake in every dollar. Here is how the money actually moves and why the reported $20 million to $25 million figure attributed to Gucci Mane starts to make sense. Gucci Mane is not personally collecting every dollar that every Pooh Shiesty stream generates. That is not how this works. What he holds through 1017's label structure and its relationship with Atlantic is a position in the master recording revenue chain that puts him on the receiving end of the largest portion of what the music produces. Let me explain the structure. Atlantic Records is a major label with the infrastructure to distribute music globally, pitch playlists, handle commercial radio, and manage the full ecosystem of a major release. 1017 operates as a label in partnership with Atlantic, meaning the two entities have negotiated how to divide the gross revenue that flows in from their jointly released recordings. Atlantic takes its share from the top for distribution and label services. What remains flows back to 1017. From there, the contractual split between 1017 and the artist determines how much flows to each party. The masters are the original recordings. Whoever controls the masters controls the primary income stream from commercial music distribution. When 1017 releases a Pooh Shiesty record, the label participates in the revenue according to its agreements with the artist and Atlantic. After distribution costs, publishing obligations, producer royalties, marketing recoupment, and administrative expenses, the remaining revenue is split between the label and the artist per their contract terms. Online discussion has circulated the idea that Pooh Shiesty's personal royalty rate under his 1017 deal is approximately 7% of revenue after recoupment. Whether that specific number reflects every revenue stream or just certain ones is the kind of nuance that actual entertainment contracts handle differently for different income types. Publishing royalties, master royalties, and performance royalties can all carry different rates under the same deal. But the principle is important and the math is clear. If 7% flows to the artist, the other 93% is distributed among the label, distribution, publishing, and other contractual participants. Gucci Mane's position in that structure means he is sitting on the side of the equation that receives the significantly larger portion of what the music generates. And then there is recoupment. Think about everything 1017 invested in Pooh Shiesty over the years. Recording costs, video budgets, marketing campaigns, promotional expenses, legal fees. The label fronts all of that, and the contract says the artist's royalties are used to pay it back before any checks go out. So even at 7%, that royalty first chips away at the recoupment balance before Pooh Shiesty sees a dollar. He can have a charting album and hundreds of millions of streams and still receive almost nothing personally. That is not a conspiracy. That is standard music business. And it is the exact dynamic that reportedly fueled his frustration with 1017, a frustration that ultimately landed him in federal custody. The $20 million to $25 million figure reported in connection with Gucci Mane's earnings from Pooh Shiesty's music is not a single streaming check. It is the accumulated financial picture across the artist's catalog, the new album, and the broader economic value that the 1017 relationship has generated over time. When Back in Blood was charting and accumulating hundreds of millions of streams, money was flowing. When Shiesty Season was being consumed by fans across the country, money was flowing. When All Eyes on Shiesty hit #1 and triggered a new wave of catalog discovery, money kept flowing. All of that adds up, and all of it runs through the same structure that Pooh Shiesty allegedly tried to break free from at gunpoint in a Dallas studio. The incarceration element makes this dynamic even more unusual. Pooh Shiesty cannot tour, he cannot perform, he cannot do any of the commercial activities an artist uses to generate income outside of recorded music. The concerts, the brand deals, the live appearances. His recorded catalog is doing all the work. And because the label controls the commercial distribution of those recordings, Gucci Mane's financial position does not require Pooh Shiesty to be free. The music works whether the artist is present or not. That is the power of master rights. The streaming flywheel effect on All Eyes on Shiesty is also worth understanding. A new album creates attention. That attention generates streams on the new project, but also drives listeners back to older music. Those older records generate their own revenue, adding to the overall catalog valuation. For a catalog that includes a cultural landmark like Back in Blood, that reactivation has serious dollar value. First week performance is only one chapter. The catalog continues generating income for months, for years, potentially for decades. The 20 million to 25 million figure reflects that longer view. And Gucci Mane, He is on the right side of that structure. The alleged confrontation in Dallas did not change his contractual position in any legally meaningful way. The forced paperwork did not free Pooh Shiesty. The federal arrest that followed did not interrupt the label's ability to release and monetize Pooh Shiesty's music. The album came out under 1017 and Atlantic. The album charted. The catalog kept streaming, and the money kept accumulating in the direction it was already flowing before January 2026 ever happened. Let's recap the full picture, fam. Pooh Shiesty signed with 1017 in 2020. He built one of the most valuable young rap catalogs of that era, anchored by Shiesty Seasoned and Back in Blood. He went to federal prison in 2022. He came out in October 2025 with his fan base intact and his catalog still generating. He grew unhappy with what his contract was paying him. He allegedly arranged an armed confrontation in Dallas in January 2026, attempting to force a release. Federal charges followed. Gucci Mane dropped Crash Dummy, publicly announcing Pooh Shiesty was still on his label. And then on August 7, 2026, All Eyes on Shiesty dropped through 1017 and Atlantic. Debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200, hit number 1 on US Apple Music, and kept the commercial story moving, right through the label structure the alleged confrontation was supposed to destroy. Gucci Mane's reported earnings of $20 million to $25 million represent the financial accumulation of that entire arc. Did Gucci Mane plan all of this? Nobody can say that. But the contractual structure placed him in a position where the alleged attempt to break free changed nothing. The rights were still in place, the label was still active, the music was still valuable. When the album was ready, the machine ran exactly as designed. 10 Steps Ahead is not about predicting every detail. It is about having a structure that holds even when someone actively tries to tear it down. Pooh Shiesty allegedly wanted out because he believed Gucci Mane was standing between him and the money. But the real twist is that the music kept working for Gucci Mane anyway. While Pooh Shiesty was fighting to become his own boss, the catalog was generating revenue under the same system. And by the time the numbers were counted, Gucci Mane had reportedly made $20 million to $25 million from the music Pooh Shiesty wanted to control. The biggest lesson here is not about the robbery or the federal charges. It is about rights. Whoever controls the master recordings controls the income. Whoever built the label structure collects from it, regardless of what happens between the personalities involved. When an artist tries to escape that system without changing who owns the recordings, the system keeps running without them. You can be in a federal holding cell. The streams do not stop. The catalog does not pause. The money does not wait. Pooh Shiesty wanted freedom, but freedom in the music business means owning your masters, not pointing guns in a Dallas studio. Because when the dust settles and the federal case is pending and the album is out and the streams are climbing, the only person sitting comfortably on the other side of all of it is the one who controlled the rights from the beginning. And in this situation, that was Gucci Mane. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, fam. Do you think Gucci Mane's financial position was always built to survive something like this? Do you think Pooh Shiesty will ever see real money from his music? And what does this situation tell us about how artists should protect themselves before signing on the dotted line? Let us know what you think. If this video broke it down the way it needed to be broken down, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed, because we keep pulling back the curtain on the money and the moves that the headlines never fully explain. See you in the next one, fam.